Good morning. Elle Ingalls here at pressure-free.com, elleingles.com. Nice to see you this morning and be with you. Topic today is inflammation. Um, Boy, you can hardly see any pictures of my hands prior to 2010 because I would hide my hands, especially this hand, my right hand, because there was not only cracked and bleeding knuckles on this hand, um, from the eczema that I had, but my fingers were almost twice as big as my left hand. So I'm a violinist, so these fingers are quite thin from all their activity. But these hands would be so bloated with inflammation. Um, and so I would hide my hands. Like, there's a couple of pictures where I'm holding one of my children and you can actually see them. I'll try to pull one up when I get back to Michigan. I'll try to find one because I didn't want anybody to see it. Inflammation is a natural occurrence when we're hurt. So my hands were trying to heal for 35 years. And so this inflammation was, sending a whole bunch of cytokines, I think they're so called cytokines, all kinds of the white blood cells, everything to try and heal what was happening here. But when it's chronic, when it keeps going through time, it's the whole system is disrupted. That's what happens when we're chronically triggering the stress response. So, a chronic release of stress hormones creates inflammation in the body to the point where that becomes a toxicity and then presents in disease. So, when we think about that and mitigating inflammation, like lowering inflammation in the body, wherever it is in the body, because that's the other thing is these hormones go into the bloodstream, so they affect every area of our body. I had one gentleman I was working with who I would not say that he was overweight at all, but he was carrying more weight than he wanted to. And in 4 days of using pressure free, he noticed that his face had lost inflammation. Like his face had more bone structure to it. You could see it. And he was just amazed. And also in his body, he said it felt like a detox, but he wasn't doing anything physically to detox. He was just stopping constantly releasing these stress hormones, mainly for thoughts in his head. So if you have issues with inflammation in a part of your body, that's not because you've hurt it and the inflammation is fixing the cut or fixing the injury. When I was out in Napa to see my son's marathon and working with a couple clients, my knee, I smashed my knee and my cheek so badly. There's still some inflammation going on in here, trying to heal that cheek. You can see the difference, right? Can you see it? And my knee, which just blew up in size. That was, of course, a tear in the synovial cavity, but also just all this activity to heal and fix. So inflammation has is great when we're just fixing a boo-boo, but it's not great if it's constant, if it's chronic. And I think that's what people talk about a lot is the chronic aspect of inflammation. And when a part of our body is inflamed, there's pain. The other thing that I've noticed is if we have pain, that puts us right on the edge to very easily trigger fight or flight because our body, our nervous system is already heightened because we hurt. Does that make sense? So if you have any sort of injury or pain, jaw problems or dental problems, I was just talking to a client about that. Any sort of pain, and my hands were painful, then you're so on the edge, like all throughout your day. So the smallest little annoyance, which was what was happening to me, the smallest little annoyance would cause me to trigger these hormones. That's going to make the eczema worse for a couple reasons. Let's share that because I don't know if I've really shared that on one of my lives yet, but one of the reasons this couldn't heal was the constant inflammation from the stress hormones. Yes. Also, one of the effects of the stress hormones is that we wick fat and glucose from our extremities and our brain cells. One neurobiologist says it's like we're putting all our neurons on the edge of a cliff when we go into fight or flight. So that's why I think we have so many plaque buildups and Alzheimer's and dementias. Like there's this constant killing of cells in our brains. So, and your glymphatic system that cleaned your brain at night can't work when you've released all these hormones because your body's trying to just get back to homeostasis. That's important, right? We've got to get these cells back to where they're doing their work really well. So back to this wicking of fat and glucose. So now the power of the cells, of the skin cells, of the muscles, like everything is affected by that. Plus our digestion is affected. So we're going to slow down or stop our metabolism of food because that takes a ton of energy and our body, the stress response is designed so that all the energy is going to fighting or running away. Our cognitive function is down because we're not supposed to be thinking cognitively. We're just supposed to react to the tiger, react to the fire, or whatever it is that is threatening us. So, so when that's all going down, the digestive system shuts down. Now we're not processing our food so well, which is why a lot of people have gut issues and difficulty with their digestive system and even dry mouth because the saliva ducts shut down. So that whole system means that now the nutrients, maybe I ate the best food, but the nutrients aren't getting out to these cells because of all this effect of the release of these hormones. So 2010, when I stopped releasing these big floods of fight or flight hormones, all of a sudden in 8 weeks, my skin healed. My breast tissues changed. Like all these things happened. I used to get bouts of stress acne on my cheeks. I haven't had that in 16 years now. I used to also get sick a lot. So our immune system, which factors into inflammation, our immune system is compromised by both of these floods of hormones. So from the first flood, there's up to a 90% drop in a little protein called interferon gamma. I got super excited when interferon gamma made the headlines during the pandemic. So it's this little protein. For some reason, the release of the first flood of hormones causes it to plummet in our bodies. So let's say um, I'm out to go to the grocery store and somebody cuts me off on the road or passes me too close and I have that little jolt and I reach this huge flood of hormones because now I'm mad at the guy who just cut me off or the woman who just cut me off. And so now I pull into the grocery store and I touch the door handle that has been touched by somebody who's ill. And then I just go like this for some reason, close to my mouth, close to my nose, and now I catch some sort of cold. So I had no idea that again, these there's like a roller coaster of your immune system when it comes to these hormones. The second flood of hormones will reduce your immune system up to 40% and your ability for your body to heal up to 40%. Wow, that's huge. These are statistics that I got from more than one study when I was studying the stress response. And so learning those things, I'm like, oh, so the immune system's just going on this roller coaster ride. If I don't release these hormones, then my immune system can start to work for me. Prior to 2010, whatever was going around town as far as an illness, I would definitely catch it. I'd power through, except for 1 year where I practically bit the dust because I got so sick. But I would get sick a lot, like these little minor colds. And I just thought that was normal. I mean, everybody else was getting these little colds too. But in 2010, when I start becoming pressure free, that first year I had two small colds. The next year, just one. And so that would be 16 years ago. Okay, so 15 years ago. So in the last 14 years, I have had two small colds and COVID. That's it. Two small colds and COVID. That means I've gone entire years without catching even a cold. I was teaching at a college. College students would come in sick to their lessons, you know. I'm in a sometimes in a small studio, very close proximity, but I wasn't getting sick. And at first I didn't believe it, by the way. That's something that I really work on with my clients. Like we can have a ton of doubt that that healing is even possible or changing our behavior is even possible because this is the way we've been. I step right beside my clients to offer that hope and possibility that something can change, something can open up. That is truly game changing when you can start to release the doubt, release the disbelief, belief, and start to move into hope and possibility, particularly if you have a chronic issue, chronic disease, because you've had it so long. If anybody would have told me, I know how to fix your eczema, I would have laughed because I'd tried everything that I knew and everything the doctors knew to try and fix this. I even went on diets like no chocolate for 90 days, no this and that for 90, just trying to get my skin to heal. Um, I don't even like chocolate anymore. It's kind of funny. Sort of eat it, but it's not huge. Um, but yeah, it's just the coolest thing to step into the possibility that something could shift or change. Maybe that's you. Maybe you feel stuck in a couple areas and you're like, wow, I really wish that I could heal this or prevent this. For me, it's a lot of prevention. You know, my dad had high blood pressure and diabetes, and my mom had cancer. And so those are kind of like the big trifecta of chronic issue, really. And I've made it to 63 so far. I'm going to knock on wood. Made it to 63 so far um, without that. My chronic issue was my skin. My chronic issue was my breast tissue, which are now completely different. And again, if anybody would have told me that, I would have just said, that's not possible. I mean, isn't this inherited? And isn't, oh, that's a huge thing to note. You may have a predisposed genetic, a genetic disposition, if you will. So you give your medical history when you go in for your checkups, for your appointments, as if that really informs anything. And I'm here to tell you that if you learn about the body, its abilities, the actual DNA work, you may have a predisposition, but it may never express. It can express under constant stress because we're actually wearing down the telomeres of our chromosomes. And so we're affecting our very DNA. Every time we have a negative thought, every time we trigger the stress response, we're affecting our very DNA. That science is so cool to get into. I found it fascinating anyway. I'm a little bit of a science geek. I probably should have been, I don't know, a medical doctor or something, but I chose sports and music and business. We get to choose what we want. But I dig into these research reports on things and it just is so cool. And I have to think I had an endocrinologist who said, "Oh, you need to study this and this," and he gave me books to suggested books for me to read. And it's been quite the education to understand more deeply the stress response. I mean, I take this information and then I run it through and look at research for specific catecholamine hormones, the glucocorticoids. Like I really dig in to see, okay, what's happening here? I'm curious about that. So if my client comes presenting with something, a certain disease, I'm going to go immediately to try and see if I can find some research on that particular disease and and particular stress hormones, like what's causing certain effects in the body. Um, it's kind of a game for me. Like I love it. I love it. It's really enlightening to learn why things are doing what they're doing in us. Well, I hope this is helpful. I hope that you have a beautiful pressure-free day. It is a rainy day here in New Hampshire. I am in Derry, New Hampshire, for the Miss New Hampshire pageant, and the finals are tonight. So I'm very excited to support my client and go to that. And then tomorrow I'll be seeing some family and then heading to Cambridge to spend a few days with my son and his girlfriend in Cambridge. So It's been a little whirlwind trip, and there's still a lot of people to see and meet on my trip before I go home. And if I don't catch you this time, if you're watching this and you're like, how come she's not seeing us? Okay, I know because some people are going to be watching that. Okay. I'll be back out in the fall. I'll be hosting a retreat here in New Hampshire in October. So if you're interested in that information, spots are starting to fill. So it's a very small retreat. So you'll want to grab your spot. And there's an early bird discount too. You can just go to my site, lingalls.com, and hit the retreat button. I'm doing one in Pentwater in September and New Hampshire in October. And in the meantime, my very first grandchildren are going to be coming into the world. So I wish you a great pressure-free day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.